Watching the sun rise and set over the mountains were two of Maggie Sharpe's favorite things about her Ozark hometown of Dogwood Mountain in far southern Missouri. She could admit that she'd missed the spectacle after being gone for as long as she had, especially early in the fall, when the colors on the trees had turned to brilliant shades of red and gold. Maggie reached for the bag of trash she'd rested by the back door 20 minutes before, when the ringing phone had interrupted her. But once again, she had to leave it where it was. She was eager for a glimpse of the colorful leaves that hung over the alley behind her shop, but work came calling yet again. Or rather, one of her regulars, Orson, came calling, and as much as she would like to muse about sunsets and foliage, she couldn't waste too much time. Orson was one of her more sweet but difficult customers. "Tell me again why I can't get another dozen for free," Orson Hawley asked as she packed up his order. "Because that's not the way we do things around here anymore," Maggie replied and took his money. "Marjorie always gave me an extra dozen for free," the older man said. He swiped the box off of the counter and headed for the door. She doubted her aunt would have doubled the order for free despite his claims. "This isn't my aunt's place anymore," Maggie called after him. She'd said the same thing twice before in the same week. Orange sunlight filtered in when he opened the door to leave. She wondered what he'd think about her when he opened the box and found an extra 4 chocolate-glazed donuts. They were the mini-sized version, but they fit well in the spaces between the larger, full-sized donuts. She'd heard through the grapevine that Orson had an affinity for them, but not a lot of money. Maggie smiled and turned toward the coffee maker to start a fresh pot. He was partially right. Her aunt probably had given him something extra for free several times over the years, and that was likely one of the reasons the donut shop hasn't done as well as it could have, financially speaking. It was also one of the reasons Maggie had decided to give the place a bit of a makeover when she inherited it from her aunt. Marjorie Getz had been many things, but a cunning businesswoman was not one of them. She had also been Maggie's only living relative, favorite aunt, and childhood hero. In the weeks since she had arrived back in her hometown, Maggie had asked herself 100 times why her aunt had chosen to leave both her business and the small home she owned entirely to her. Sure, they were close, but Maggie wasn't exactly an expert when it came to donuts. "Just my luck," Maggie said, when she saw how slowly the coffee was dripping into the pot. "What's just your luck?" a voice boomed from across the room. Maggie's head swiveled in time to see a familiar face standing on the other side of the counter, though it took her a moment to recognize him. More than 2 decades had passed since she'd last seen him. She must have really needed her caffeine fix, because she'd been so distracted by her thoughts that she hadn't even heard the little bells on the front door jingle when he entered. She would have done just about anything to be better prepared for a visit from Brett Mission.